Well, good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters and guests. It really is my pleasure today to be able to chat with you all and to see so many new faces at our meeting today. And to get everybody warmed up with some trivia, I would like to start with a few questions. Question one. What do Richard Branson, Harrison Ford, Samuel L. Jackson, and Julia Roberts all have in common? So, you all muted, so you really can't tell me the answer right now. But I'm sure you got this right anyways. The thing that all four of those individuals have in common, besides being incredibly rich, is that they all have a fear of public speaking. Now, using your hands to respond virtually, where do you think public speaking ranks on a list of the top 10 fears of people? One, one. One's everywhere. Wow. Well, the exact ranking of the fear of public speaking is up for debate, but according to my top-notch bulletproof research, public speaking is consistently in the top 5 fears of people, and is actually the second-ranked fear of people in most of the reports that I came across. So you were all very close. It wasn't one, but it was two. And did you know that the fear of public speaking is ranked between the fear of flying and the fear of heights, which are life and death situations to me? I'm terrified of flying, and I hate heights. Public speaking may be third after that. But although public speaking can feel like a life or death situation, I assure you that it's not. In my top-notch bulletproof research, I didn't find anybody that actually died from public speaking. Good thing, knock on wood. But public speaking can be stressful. I don't want to downplay that. And it's difficult. And these thoughts that come up in our mind about public speaking often lead to a fear of it. And the fear of public speaking doesn't just affect one group of people, it affects many people, no matter what your background. Now, I'm sure you're all wondering why anyone would want to join a club about public speaking and repeatedly doing something that's so terrifying, something that scares you. But what if I also told you that joining a club such as Toastmasters is also one of the best ways to overcome this particular fear? The fear of public speaking and of just social communication is one that we can't easily avoid. And trust me, I've tried to a lot. But it's because communication is simply a function of our everyday lives. Whether you're giving a presentation at work, or you're unfortunately stuck in the elevator with your boss, or whether you're giving a speech to your kids to fire them up before their big game, or if you're giving a literal toast at a close friend's wedding, communication is necessary. Speaking is a necessity. Luckily, there are organizations such as Toastmasters, wink wink, whose aim it is to help us overcome our fears to attain these goals. And I've personally lived through this. I first remember when my fear of public speaking was realized, and that occurred in college, when the professor required the oddest thing that I'd ever heard, which was that we would have to present our project in front of our class, which had 100 people in it. You know, who would have thought about that? Not me. Public speaking was the last thing on my mind at that point in time. And because ignorance is bliss, I assumed that this would be a piece of cake, a walk in the park, so I didn't need to prepare. Oh man, when it was my turn to present, let me tell you, my palms were sweaty, knees weak, arms were heavy. I hope you guys got that reference. Because this was my life all throughout college. Each presentation that I had to go through in college, I turned back into that Eminem lyric, right? My palms are sweaty, my knees were weak, my arms were heavy. But somehow I made it through. Probably because I went the economics route instead of the public speaking route, but still, I made it through. And fortunately, NIST still decided to hire me. Ooh, I was lucky. And I found my way to Toastmasters. Participating in the NIST Toastmasters Club has helped me minimize and manage my fear of public speaking. Anyone I ever talk to about Toastmasters, I always tell them that the fear of public speaking never really goes away. I'm just as nervous today as I was during my first speech. The difference is that the techniques and the skills that I've learned and developed through Toastmasters have helped me manage my nerves a lot better. I remember my first Toastmasters speech clearly. As I stood up to speak, I thought, why am I doing this to myself? What am I doing? Again, my nerves were scattered, and I even had note cards to help me through my speech, because I blanked out on certain parts. However, this was the beginning of my learning experience and not the end. I challenged myself to continue to move forward and to get better. And the first thing that I learned through that experience is that we are our own biggest obstacle. We can psych ourselves out and get our heads, and it can throw us off. So moving forward from that day, I started utilizing the things that I learned from Toastmasters. The techniques that I developed, such as creating an outline of what I want to convey, with my introduction and conclusion fully developed. Techniques such as rehearsing what I want to say multiple times and in front of people. Techniques such as identifying and minimizing my weaknesses in speech and understanding who my audience is. Now, these ideas may seem routine and like basic things you get in leadership courses, but seldom do we actually get a chance to put them in practice. And the great thing about Toastmasters is that it brings together a group of individuals who are all trying to get better at that same root issue, public speaking. Some of us are afraid of public speaking, and others just want to get better at it. And a lot of us have the combination of them both. But at the end of the day, we all support each other towards reaching whatever your speaking goals may be, and to provide a safe place to practice the tools and techniques that we learned through the Toastmasters program, to actually put them into action. And the most important thing, the program produces results. I don't like to toot my own horn, and every now and then, I guess, but I have heard many times about how much my public speaking has improved as a result of my membership in Toastmasters. Now, it's a bit bittersweet because people are basically telling me how bad I was in the past and how much I got better through Toastmasters, but still, it's good to hear that, you've improved. That's the reason you're in the club. So, if you are scared of public speaking, you're not alone. Look at the celebrities I mentioned to open this speech. I think Samuel L. Jackson has a great vocabulary that, I like to say every now and then. If you feel that you want to improve your public speaking, you're not alone. Then this Toastmasters Club is full of individuals just like you. And I promise that you're not going to find a better environment to achieve your speaking goal. So the question should not be why you should join Toastmasters, but rather, why not? Thank you, fellow Toastmasters and guests.
Thank you, Lisa. I want to thank all of our guests for joining us on the open house. And I want to thank Nico for kicking things off with such a great speech. I will say that Nico has improved dramatically, but you weren't terrible to begin with, so it's not disparaging. We can always improve. I think we can all improve, and I think that quest for continual improvement is why we're all here. I'm going to give my evaluation now. I tend to structure my evaluations in a certain way. The goal of the evaluation isn't to summarize the speech. So this is a mistake a lot of new members make, or this is a mistake people make in general when you're giving feedback. I've found that giving evaluations in Toastmasters has benefited me the most outside of Toastmasters, because the ability to give constructive feedback is actually really critical in your professional life, with your family and friends. And it's not easy to do. So the way I typically do it is something Jaslyn taught me, and the sandwich method. You can do it any other way, but typically you want to think about two key things. You want to think about things that worked well and things that could be improved upon. And about the speech in particular, you want to focus on the speech. So you don't want to make personal attacks on the speaker, because there's not really that's not really constructive and doesn't really give the speaker a chance to improve their speaking skills. So the sandwich method, really, what I do is I sandwich constructive feedback in the way that you have something positive at the top, something to improve on in the middle, and then you close out with something positive at the bottom. Sort of kind of round out the evaluation. So what I wanted to say about Nico's top-notch bulletproof speech is that I think if I weren't a member already, it would have sold me. I think he did such a great job selling it in a way that I wouldn't have been able to do. And what he really did was connect the benefits of Toastmasters. I'm getting an echo. Okay. To his personal journey, and I think his personal journey is really what makes us connect with the values from Toastmasters that he is conveying. He did a really good job of connecting with the audience initially by starting the speech with trivia, and trivia that we can all relate to, and that really set the stage for the rest of his speech. Now, this is where I have a little bit of a room for improvement, and I will say it was really hard to find room for improvement because this was such a really good speech. But for the first question that you asked, my guess was that these were all Toastmasters. And you said, oh, obviously these people all have a fear of public speaking. I think two things could have improved the execution of the trivia question. Call someone. You have seasoned Toastmasters who are not afraid to be. You don't have to call on the guests and scare them, but call on someone and make them guess, right? And then second of all, don't take it for granted that we know the answer, because yeah, I said, oh, obviously these were all Toastmasters, but it was really about fear of public speaking. I think that maybe it was obvious to other people, but if it's not obvious to everyone, I think it's worth peeling the layer off more gently. And I think after that, it went really smoothly. I think overall, one of the things that we found challenging in giving virtual speeches is connecting physically with the audience, because we can't move around the room and look at people. But Nico did a great job of maintaining eye contact in the camera, and I don't know that I'm doing a good job of that. So I think kudos to you, Nico. I felt like you were talking directly to me, and I think that's a really, really hard skill to develop. Apparently, since I haven't done a very good job of it myself. And I think that brings the audience closer together to what you're doing. And you seemed comfortable and casual despite the fact that you said you're always nervous. So I think that in itself sells what you're trying to sell. So thank you, Nico. Thank you for a great speech. One other thing I'll point out is you'll notice in the evaluation I didn't nitpick on grammar. I didn't nitpick on any kind of filler words, which are things that we cover later on in the speech. There's somebody designated in the club meeting that does that. So they pick out every time you say or anything like I tend to say a lot, or so. And the other thing I didn't pick on was whether he went overtime, because we have someone dedicated to keeping time, and that's Nikki, as you saw. So I hope that was a helpful speech evaluation, and I hope you all learned something. Thank you, Nico.